I discovered my wife's affair through emails she'd hidden for years. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The kitchen quote. Delete this after you forward it, see. That was the subject line at the top of an email thread dated July 11th, 2019, 2:14 a.m. The preview pane showed a PDF attachment, and the file name began with our street number. I'm Ethan, 32. I do IT for a public school district, the kind of job where you spend half your life under desks, yanking dust bunnies out of Ethernet ports. I'm not dramatic. I'm the guy who checks the logs before I check my feelings. I found the email by accident, which is the only reason I'm telling this at all. Claire was in the shower, and I was finally sorting the closet full of old tech we kept for emergencies. There was a gray laptop we hadn't touched since we moved in together. I booted it just to wipe it, and the mail app opened automatically. At first it looked boring. Receipts, newsletters, school district stuff. Then I noticed a second inbox I didn't recognize, titled Only See. I clicked it and got that subject line, plus a thread that stretched back years, all neatly tucked into an archive folder. Claire and I have a mortgage, a shared calendar, and a running joke about how our houseplants live out of spite. We've been trying for a baby long enough that people stopped asking and started giving us pity smiles. Whatever this was, it wasn't just going to hurt my feelings. It could blow up everything we built. And the sender name on that first thread wasn't a contractor. It was Miles R., the cybersecurity consultant I'd introduced to my team. I could hear the water shut off in the bathroom. On the counter, Claire's wedding ring dish sat beside her floss and a tube of hand cream. Normal life. On my screen, the newest message was marked unread, like it had been waiting for me. Subject: can't risk him seeing the bank alerts. Date: March 3rd, 2022, 1:09 a.m. Below it was a line that made my stomach drop. Move it from the joint account like we practiced. I didn't know yet if this was cheating or money or both, but I knew one thing. If I confronted her now, she'd delete everything. So I did what I always do when something breaks. I started documenting. I had 12 seconds before she walked in and saw everything. 2 hours earlier, my biggest problem was a printer in Roosevelt Middle that kept spitting blank pages like it was protesting. I came home with toner on my hands, and Claire was already in the kitchen, hair twisted up, humming to a playlist she swore she didn't have. You smell like hot plastic, she said, leaning in for a kiss anyway. That's my natural musk, I told her. We did our usual routine. She plated leftover pasta, I poured 2 glasses of cheap red, and we argued lovingly about whether the dog understood English or just vibes. This is the part that makes me feel stupid. We were fine. Not movie fine, but adult fine. Bills paid. Inside jokes. Shared memes. The kind of marriage where you can sit in silence and it doesn't feel like punishment. Then little things started stacking up, the way dust stacks up on a server rack. Claire got really into fitness and started waking up at 5:30 to go to a gym across town instead of the 1-2 blocks away. She bought a planner with hourly slots and got weirdly defensive about it. One night, while we watched a rerun in bed, her phone buzzed. She flipped it face down so fast I laughed. Are you cheating on me with a spreadsheet? I joked. She smiled without looking up. If I were, at least the spreadsheet would communicate. I let it go, because that's what you do when you love someone and you don't want to be the paranoid guy. Besides, she had a story for everything. Girls' night, work deadline, a friend in crisis. And when we talked about trying for a baby, she'd take my hand and say, soon. Just soon. The only time I pushed was when she changed her phone passcode. It's not about you, she said, too quickly. My friend got her identity stolen. I'm just being careful. I believed her because I wanted to. Now I'm staring at an inbox titled C, and every girl's night has a timestamp. I clicked the oldest thread and saw a hotel name I recognized instantly. The oldest email in the archive was from September 18th, 2018, 11:47 p.m. From Miles R. To Claire. Subject: thanks for tonight. I know how it sounds, but my first reaction was almost relief. Not because it was harmless, but because I could pretend it was. Thanks for tonight could mean a meeting. Networking. The nonprofit world Claire lived in was full of late dinners and polished smiles. Then I opened it. Still shaking, Miles wrote, "Your laugh in that little bar was like permission." I kept thinking, what if he knew we were sitting there like that? I scrolled, waiting for the punchline. The just kidding. The normal explanation. It didn't come. Claire replied 9 minutes later. Timestamp, 11:56 p.m. He won't, she wrote. He never looks for what he doesn't expect. Also, next time, no texts. Email only. Subject lines like invoices. My hands went cold. Not hot angry yet. Just that sick, buzzy numbness you get before you throw up. I told myself it could still be emotional. Flirty. Not physical. People do stupid things and come back from them. But the next message ruined that last, desperate option. March 2nd, 2019, 1:13 a.m. Subject, Q1 budget draft. Attachment, Harborview_receipt. PDF. Inside the email. Same room as last time? I want the view. Harborview Suites wasn't a random hotel. It was where Claire and I had done a staycation for our first anniversary because we couldn't afford flights. I remembered the lobby smell, citrus and chlorine, and her laughing at the ice machine that sounded like it was dying. I kept scrolling and started noticing the pattern like it was a network map. Messages almost always came between 12:30 and 2:30 a.m. Every few weeks. Always the same coded subjects. Invoice, deck revisions, donor notes. Always the same location references. Harborview. The little bar. Your side of town. And every time Miles asked if she was safe, Claire answered the same way. Ethan believes me, she wrote, over and over, like a spell. Then I saw one line that made me stop breathing entirely. If he gets the Seattle offer again, we need to shut that down. I wish I could tell you I slammed the laptop shut and stormed into the bathroom like a movie hero. What I actually did was what I do at work when something looks wrong. I checked the settings. Apple Mail was synced to Claire's Gmail. The left panel showed folders I'd never seen on her phone. Receipts, volunteer, vendors. Normal-sounding camouflage. Inside vendors was a subfolder named Simply 2020 with a dot in front like a secret handshake. When I clicked it, hundreds of messages loaded, every one from Miles, already marked red. I opened Gmail in the browser to see the real structure, and that's when the calculation hit me in the teeth. Filters. Rule 1. If from contains Miles. Are at, then skip inbox. Mark as read. Apply label, vendors / 2020, never send it to spam. Rule 2. If subject contains invoice or budget, then forward to Claire. Vault at protonmail.com. Delete it. It wasn't hiding in a messy way. It was hiding in a competent way. And the sent mail? There were gaps. Weeks where she supposedly never replied, but the thread showed her responses. That only happens if you delete your own sent messages after the other person quotes you. I found drafts, too. Unsent emails sitting in a folder called Ideas. Because who clicks an Ideas folder? One draft was dated May 14th, 2021, 12:52 a.m., and the whole body was one line. If Ethan asks, tell him the gala sponsor changed the payment method. A shower pipe clanked. Claire humming stopped. My brain started doing the worst kind of math. How many lies fit inside 4 years, and how many of them were told right to my face? I exported the entire mailbox to a box file like I was backing up evidence for an audit. I took photos of the filter's screen with my own phone because screenshots on her laptop felt too risky. I stared at that line until the letters blurred. I reset the router all the time. She'd watched me do it with a smile, like my competence was a stage prop. In the corner of the screen, the clock ticked to 9:07 p.m., and I realized I was holding my breath. Then I saw a third rule I hadn't noticed at first, and it had my name in it. If Ethan resets the router, switch to the burner account immediately. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The emails didn't just add up to cheating, they rewired my memories. That girl's night, in October 2020, I remember her in our doorway in a green dress, swaying like she'd already had wine. Text me when you get there, I said. She rolled her eyes affectionately. Dad, just safety. She kissed my cheek. I'll be at Janelle's. If anything happens, I'll scream into the charcuterie. An email from that same night, 12:41 a.m. Subject, donor notes. Parked behind the loading dock, Miles wrote. I'll come down. Or the spring fundraiser where I ran cable for Claire's ticketing table. Miles showed up in a blazer that looked expensive without trying. Ethan, this is Miles, Claire said, hand light on my shoulder. He saved our whole system. Miles shook my hand like we were teammates. Heard you're the wizard behind the scenes. I'd laughed. More like the janitor with admin privileges. Now I found an email from that week where she wrote to him, "Be nice. He's proud when he feels useful." I started documenting quietly. At work, I ate lunch in my car and exported threads to a flash drive. I photographed the filter rules with my phone because screenshots on her laptop felt like leaving fingerprints. I texted my friend Jada, the only person who can be blunt without being cruel. Me, you free after work? Jada, depends. Are you dying or is someone else dying? Me, I found emails. Claire and Miles. She called immediately. Do not confront her yet, she said. Do you hear me? Secrets make people reckless. That night, Claire padded into the living room in pajamas and asked, too casually, "You okay? You seem quiet." I forced a smile I didn't recognize. Just tired. Printer apocalypse. She leaned in, warm and familiar, and whispered, "Come to bed." In bed, she curled against me like nothing had changed, breathing slow. I stared at the ceiling and remembered her saying, "We're a team," when we signed the mortgage. On my nightstand, my phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Fertility consult, reschedule? I hadn't made that reminder. Her phone lit up with a notification she didn't show me. The next morning, I pretended to be normal while my brain ran in the background like a corrupted process. Claire kissed me goodbye and said she had an early gym class. When the garage door shut, I opened the old laptop again. The Proton Mail address in the filter rule haunted me. Claire. Vault at protonmail.com. On a hunch, I clicked forgot password and watched the recovery options pop up. One was a phone number ending in 44, Claire's. The other was an email I recognized as ours, Claire. home@gmail.com. She'd used our shared account as her recovery. I felt disgusting, like I was picking a lock in my own house, but I did it anyway. The reset link landed in the shared inbox, and in less than a minute I was staring at her vault. It wasn't love letters. It was logistics. Forwarded bank alerts. Copies of hotel confirmations. A PDF titled Harbor_Suites_Final. PDF, with Miles's name on it, and our joint card number masked except for the last four. Then a Google Drive link. Document name, Project M, run of show. Shared with Miles, Claire, and a third address I didn't know. I opened it and saw a table with dates, times, and innocent labels. Donor meeting, site walkthrough, gym. Next to them, in a column called Notes, were instructions that made my stomach flip. Use service entrance. Leave scarf in car, signal. If Ethan calls, let it ring twice then text, in class. I took photos until my phone storage warning popped up. At lunch I met Jada at a coffee shop near the district office. She slid into the booth across from me and took one look at my face. "Okay," she said, suddenly gentle. "Show me." I handed her my phone. She scrolled, jaw tightening. "This is organized," she said. "How deep are you in?" "Deep enough to hate myself," I said. "What do I do?" Jada leaned in. "You check money. Affairs cost. Secrets cost more." That afternoon, with my heart trying to claw out of my ribs, I pulled up our joint statements. There were 3 transfers I didn't recognize, each for the exact same amount. And every transfer ended with the same memo, Miles Consulting. I thought the worst thing I'd find was proof of bodies and beds. I wasn't prepared for strategy. Buried in the vault was a thread with a subject that didn't bother pretending to be innocent. Subject, Seattle. Date, January 9th, 2022, 12:38 a.m. Miles wrote, "He's applying again?" Claire replied, "Yes. He thinks I don't know." He left the recruiter email open on his laptop like a golden retriever, leaving trash everywhere. My throat tightened. I had applied for a network admin role in Seattle that winter. Better pay, better hours, a chance to stop being the guy crawling under desks. I'd told Claire I was considering options, and she'd hugged me and said she was proud. In the email, she wasn't proud. She was annoyed. "If he gets it, we're done," Miles wrote. "I can't do long distance." "Claire, he won't. I already have a plan." She attached a screenshot of my resume. My resume. The one stored on my personal Google Drive. She'd highlighted the district systems I worked on, software names, versions, vendors. Stuff I knew better than to share publicly. Miles replied 2 minutes later, "Perfect. I can work with that." "Claire, don't do anything illegal." "Miles, relax. I'll just make sure they have concerns. They'll back away on their own." I sat there hearing my own voice in my head from months ago. I didn't get it, but it's okay. Not meant to be. I remembered Claire rubbing my shoulders and saying, "Something better will come." In the vault, something better had been actively murdered. Another email right after that thread had a bank alert forwarded into the vault. Zelle payment sent for $1,800. Claire wrote underneath, "Use this to cover the attorney retainer. Your ex is escalating. Do not let this touch my accounts." So that consulting wasn't even work. It was damage control, paid by the life we shared. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire, running late. Jim ran overtime. I stared at the screen and realized she wasn't just cheating. She was managing me. Then I scrolled down and saw the line that made my vision tunnel. I already called his boss. I planted the seed about security. I didn't sleep. I lay next to Claire and listened to her breathe like an actor hitting her marks. At 3:12 a.m., I got up, went back to the closet, and opened the vault again because my brain wouldn't stop asking, "How long?" That's when I found the thread titled Thursday. Date, November 5th, 2020, 1:22 a.m. Subject, follow-up appointment. Miles, are you sure you want to do this? Claire, I can't have a baby right now. Not with you still figuring out your divorce. Not with Ethan wanting a kid like it's a checkbox. Miles, he'll notice. Claire, he'll notice what I tell him to notice. I stared at the timestamp until my eyes watered. November 5th, 2020. That was the day Claire came home pale and shaking and said, "I think I was pregnant, and now I'm not." I remember every detail. The way she sat on the bathroom floor in sweatpants. The way I knelt beside her, useless, saying, "We can try again," like hope was a bandage. I called out sick and we ate toast because neither of us could handle real food. She cried into my shoulder and whispered, "Promise you won't hate me." I promised. In the vault, there was a PDF attachment right under that thread, receipt_Thursday. PDF. Not Harborview. Not a hotel. It was a medical invoice from a women's health clinic across town. Line item, procedure, outpatient. Balance, $1,250. My brain tried to protect me with technicalities. Maybe it was a cyst. Maybe it was a biopsy. Maybe it was anything except what my gut knew. Then I opened the next email. Miles, thank you for doing it. I'll never forget. Claire, don't thank me. Just don't make me do it twice. I had to sit down on the carpet because my knees stopped working. The grief I'd carried like a shared wound suddenly felt stolen. And that, Jim ran overtime. Text from this morning? November 5th, 2020 had a Jim entry too. It wasn't a Jim day. It was a cover story day. On the invoice, in tiny print at the bottom, was the note that finished me. Patient requested privacy. Do not leave voicemail or mail statements. By Friday, I had a folder on my work laptop named Driver Updates that contained nothing but my marriage imploding. I didn't want revenge. I wanted reality. And I wanted to stop bleeding money into a secret life. Jada drove me to an attorney's office on her lunch break because she didn't trust me alone with my thoughts. The name on the door was Park in clean black letters. Attorney Park was calm in a way that made me feel both safer and smaller. "Tell me what you have," Park said. I slid my phone across the desk. Photos of filters, transfers, the Project M schedule, and that clinic invoice. Park didn't gasp. They just asked questions like they were assembling a checklist. How long married? Any kids? Joint accounts? Any big debts? Do not confront her until you secure your basics, Park said. People delete evidence. People empty accounts. People rewrite history. What can I do without making this worse? I asked. Redirect your paycheck, Park said. Copy tax returns and mortgage statements. Change your personal passwords. Freeze your credit. Do not drain joint funds. Quiet steps. They leaned forward. And stop accessing accounts you aren't authorized to access. Preserve what you already captured. I nodded, even though the whole thing had happened inside my own house. That night I opened a new checking account, changed my payroll deposit, and started pulling documents. I photographed the deed, the car titles, the last 3 years of returns. I wrote down every login I controlled and changed it. The moral part was harder. Every cell in my body wanted to sit Claire down at the kitchen table and say, "Tell me the truth." But Park and Jada kept repeating the same sentence. Waiting hurts now, but saves you later. Claire caught me sorting papers and laughed. Are you finally becoming an adult? Just getting organized, I said. She kissed my temple. Love that for you. Later, alone in my car, I opened a calendar invite Claire had created for next week. The Harborview invite had one attendee, and it was Miles. Claire didn't explode right away. She got curious. It started with sweetness. She brought home my favorite takeout on Tuesday and acted like we were in a commercial for healthy marriages. Work been rough? She asked, sliding the bag across the counter. Same as always, I said, trying to sound bored. She watched me longer than normal. You've been on your phone a lot. I'm reading, I lied. News. Doom scrolling. Trying to be an informed citizen. She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Right. And you've been organized. Bank stuff. Papers. I kept chewing. Just adulting. Claire leaned on the counter like she was about to flirt. Speaking of adulting, want to take a shower together? My skin prickled. It should have been enticing. Instead, it felt like a test. Maybe later, I said. Her smile sharpened. Okay. 2 hours later, she appeared in my home office with her phone in her hand. Hey, she said lightly. Did you change anything with payroll? My auto transfer to savings didn't hit today. My stomach dropped. I'd redirected my deposit like Park advised, and I'd assumed she wouldn't notice for at least one cycle. District must be slow, I said. End-of-year budgets. You know how it is. Claire stared at me like she was reading a line of code. I know how it is, she repeated. Then she softened her voice. Ethan, are we okay? For half a second, the old me wanted to grab that opening and beg for honesty. The new me remembered filters marked read and my name inside a rule. Yeah, I said too fast. We're fine. Her eyes flicked to the closet door. Good, she said. Because I'm finally cleaning out that tech pile tomorrow. We can donate it. My mouth went dry. The old laptop. The vault access. The evidence. That night, I barely slept. At 6:20 a.m., I heard the closet door slide open. I was halfway out of bed before my brain caught up to my body. If she logged in and hit reset, everything I'd saved could vanish, and she'd never even have to ask why I looked terrified. Oh look, this one still turns on today, Claire called. I got to the closet first. Claire was sitting cross-legged on the floor with the old laptop on her thighs, smiling at the screen like it was an old friend. You're up early, she said. I heard you cleaning. I managed, voice steady through pure terror. I'm being productive, she said, fingers already on the trackpad. Let me wipe it, I said too quickly. IT brain. I can do a proper secure erase. She paused. A microsecond of calculation. Then she handed it to me like she was doing me a favor. Sure, babe. You love your little rituals. I took it to my car and drove to work with it on the passenger seat like a live grenade. At my desk, I copied the mailbox file again, exported the Drive doc as a PDF, and forwarded everything to Attorney Park's secure portal like they'd shown me. Then I looked at Claire's calendar and made a decision I could taste in my teeth. Harborview Suites. Thursday. Donor dinner. Miles. I booked a reservation at the Harborview Lobby restaurant for the same night, same time, under my own name. I also texted Miles from my personal number, something I'd never done, because I had a legitimate reason. He was still contracted to audit our network. Hey Miles. Need 10 minutes Thursday night about the security findings. Harborview Lobby, 7:30. He replied fast. Miles, sure. Weird place, but okay. I didn't tell him Claire would be there. I didn't tell Claire he would be meeting me. I wanted a moment where no one could claim miscommunication. Jada met me in a parking lot after work and handed me a thin manila folder. What's that? I asked. Printouts, she said. In case your phone dies, or she grabs it. Also, you shake when you're angry. Paper doesn't. Thursday came. Claire dressed carefully. Hair perfect, lipstick just enough. She told me it was a sponsored dinner and asked if I could hold down the fort. I'll be fine, I said. Actually, I'll meet you downtown. I booked us a table. Thought we could reconnect. Her face flickered. Tonight, I said. In the Harborview lobby, the air smelled like citrus and expensive soap. Claire kept checking her phone. At 7:29, she whispered, Ethan, we should. Then the elevator doors opened. Miles walked out, spotted us, and stopped like he'd hit an invisible wall. For a second, none of us moved. The lobby kept living around us, suitcases rolling, someone laughing at the bar, while the three of us stood in a bubble. Claire recovered first. She put on her public smile and stepped toward Miles. Hey, I didn't know you were. Don't, I said. They both turned to me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. I led them to a quiet corner near the restaurant entrance where the music was soft enough to feel insulting. I didn't sit. I set Jada's folder on the table and opened it like I was laying out a work order. "What is this?" Claire asked, breathy. "A timeline," I said. "Emails. Filters. Transfers. Your vault." Miles's eyes flicked to the paper and then away. Claire's smile cracked. "Ethan, you went through my email?" I almost laughed. The audacity of her, in that hotel lobby, offended on behalf of the lies. "You set a filter that marks his messages read," I said, tapping the printout. "You forwarded bank alerts to Proton Mail. You deleted your sent mail. You wrote instructions on what to text me when you were with him." Claire's face changed in stages. Confusion, then anger, then a tight kind of calculation. "This is insane," she said. "You're spiraling." "Miles and I met at Harborview," I cut in. "Same room as my anniversary staycation. Subjects labeled Q1 budget draft." Miles finally spoke, low. "Ethan, man, this isn't the place." Oh, it was the place. Claire had chosen it like a stage. I slid the Seattle thread forward. "You two killed my job offer," I said. "You called my boss. You planted security concerns." Claire's nostrils flared. "I did what I had to," she snapped. "Why?" I asked, and my voice came out smaller than I wanted. She stared at me like I was the one being unreasonable. "Because you were going to drag me away," she said. "Because you're steady and safe, and you don't see me." That hurt. Then she made it unforgivable. "Ethan, I married you because you were safe." Miles was the part one wanted. I felt something inside me go quiet. Then I slid the clinic invoice onto the table, and Claire went pale. Miles finally whispered, "She told me you'd never find that." I didn't make a speech. I didn't flip a table. I did something worse for them. I got quiet. "I'm leaving," I said, and it came out calm enough that Claire looked almost offended. "Ethan, don't be dramatic," she hissed. 4 years of filters isn't a mistake," I said. "It's a job." I walked out of the Harborview with the folder under my arm like it was paperwork from a meeting. My legs shook the second the cold air hit me. Jada was in the parking lot, engine running. When I opened the passenger door, she didn't ask questions. She just handed me a bottle of water. "Drink," she said. "Then breathe." I slept on her couch that night, staring at the ceiling fan like it was going to explain what happened. I didn't eat. Food felt like an insult. By Monday, reality turned into tasks. Attorney Park filed the initial paperwork. I separated my direct deposit and set up alerts for every account I could legally monitor. Claire texted in waves. Rage, apologies, rage again. "Claire, you humiliated me. We can talk like adults." I was lonely. "You're ruining our life." I forwarded each message to Park and didn't reply. At work, I had to act normal while also realizing the man we paid to secure our network had been sleeping with my wife and using my information. I asked my supervisor for a vendor reassignment without giving details, and my supervisor's eyes narrowed like he knew more than he wanted. People noticed I was off. I skipped jokes. I forgot passwords I'd known for years. I flinched when my phone buzzed. Claire tried to corner me outside the house when I went to grab clothes. "Ethan, please," she said, standing on the porch like she owned the script. "I made mistakes, but I love you." I looked past her into the living room where our wedding photo still sat on the shelf, smiling at a version of us that didn't exist. "Move," I said quietly. She did, but not before whispering, "Miles didn't mean anything. You were always my real life." I laughed once, sharp and ugly. "That's the problem," I said. "You treated me like the part that didn't matter." That night, Park called me with a tone I'd learned to fear. "Ethan," they said, "Miles just contacted your district attorney today." The weeks after Harborview were paperwork and grief taking turns punching me. Attorney Park handled most communication, which meant my marriage ended through carefully worded emails and calendar invites. The irony wasn't lost on me. When Claire wanted to talk, Park's response was always the same, submitted in writing. Claire tried a softer version of herself for a while. She sent a long message about loneliness, about feeling invisible, about how she lost herself. It was full of feelings and empty of accountability. The closest thing to an apology was, "I didn't think you'd ever look." I set boundaries like they were firewall rules. All communication through Park. No unannounced visits. No one last talk in the kitchen. Full financial disclosure, or we stopped negotiating. Some days I hated her. Some days I hated myself for still missing her. Both feelings can exist in the same hour, which is something no one warns you about. Work got messy too. I disclosed the conflict to my supervisor in the plainest language I could. Personal relationship with vendor, potential misuse of access, need to terminate involvement. The district cut Miles's contract within a month. I didn't celebrate. I just felt tired. Therapy helped in the unglamorous way that fixing a leak helps. Slow, annoying, necessary. I learned to eat again. I learned to sleep without waking up to imaginary notifications. I learned that steady isn't a flaw unless someone is using it as a cage. The house went on the market. I drove past it once and didn't stop. That felt like a victory and a funeral. And then, 3 months later, a new email from Claire hit my inbox at midnight. 3 months later, at 12:07 a.m., my phone buzzed with a subject line I didn't recognize. From Claire. Subject, no more hiding. I stared at it for a long time before opening. The apartment was quiet, and I'd learned to live with that. Claire's email wasn't a plea to come home. It was something rarer, a straight line. She admitted she'd set up the filters the first week she started talking to Miles. She admitted she kept them because deleting them would mean noticing what she'd become. She admitted that consulting payments were never consulting. Miles had a messy divorce, a hungry lawyer, and she convinced herself she was helping, not stealing. She wrote, I told myself you were fine because you were always fine. Then she wrote, I sabotaged Seattle because I wanted you close and obedient. Obedient. That word sat in my chest like a brick. She didn't defend the clinic invoice. She didn't rewrite the day on the bathroom floor. She only said, I used your kindness like cover. I'm sorry for the grief I borrowed. I cried, which surprised me. Not because the email healed anything, but because it finally matched the reality I'd been forced to uncover like a detective in my own marriage. I didn't reply with forgiveness. I didn't reply with hate. I forwarded it to Park. Then I went back to bed and slept like my body had been waiting for permission. If you're in the position I was in, staring at hidden emails and feeling your life tilt, here's what I learned the hard way. Don't confront first, preserve first. Copy evidence. Secure your money. Protect your credit. Tell one trustworthy person. Get legal advice before you get closure. And when someone screams privacy while standing on a pile of lies, remember that privacy isn't the same thing as secrecy.